Definitions of psychology. Etymologically, psychology means the science of the soul, viz., psyche mean soul, and logos means science. The earlier psychologists maintained that the function of psychology was to study the nature, origin, and the destiny of the human soul. Modern psychologists, however, doubt the existence of the soul, since there is no empirical evidence for its existence. Many of the earlier psychologists, however, believed in the existence of the mind. Some contemporary psychologists also believe in the existence of the mind. Psychology is the science of mind. In 1892, William James defined psychology as the science of mental processes. In his view, psychology may be defined in terms of conscious states. Turin. Psychology is the science of consciousness. In 1884, James Sully defined psychology as the science of the inner world, as distinguished from physical science, which study the physical phenomena. In 1892, Wilhelm Wundt defined psychology as the science which studies the internal experiences. Psychology is the science of behavior. In 1905, William McDougall defined psychology as the science of behavior. In 1911, W.B. Pillsbury also defined psychology as the science of behavior. J.B. Watson, however, discarded the concepts of the mind, consciousness, purpose, and the like from psychological use, and defined psychology as the science of behavior. Psychology is the science of the experience and behavior of the individual in relation to his environment. K. Kafka holds that even though the concept of consciousness cannot be completely discarded from psychological vocabulary, the main aim of psychology is the study of behavior. R. S. Woodworth defines psychology as the science of activities of the individual. The four goals of psychology. The study of psychology has four goals. 1. Describe. Describing things is something we do every single day with no conscious thought or effort. But describing in psychology has a slightly different meaning than the describing we do in our everyday life. Describing a problem, an issue, or behavior is the first goal of psychology. Descriptions help psychologists to distinguish between normal and abnormal behavior and gain a more accurate understanding and perspective on human and animal behavior, actions, and thoughts. 2. Explain. Psychologists are very interested in being able to explain behavior, rather than just being able to describe it. This helps in providing answers to questions about why people react in a certain way, why they do the things they do, and the factors which affect their personality, their mental health, their actions, etc. 3. Predict. Making predictions about how we think and act is the third goal of psychology. By looking at past observed behavior, describing and explaining, psychologists aim to predict how that behavior will appear again in the future and whether other people might exhibit the same behavior. Through the process of describing and explanation, psychologists are able to understand more about what thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are contributing factors. They can then use that knowledge to predict why, when, and how those things might happen in the future. Change, control. Psychology aims to change, influence, or control behavior to make positive, constructive, meaningful, and lasting changes in people's lives, and to influence their behavior for the better. This is the final and most important goal of psychology. 3. Predict. Making predictions about how we think and act is the third goal of psychology. By looking at past observed behavior, describing and explaining, psychologists aim to predict how that behavior will appear again in the future and whether other people might exhibit the same behavior. Through the process of describing and explanation, psychologists are able to understand more about what thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are contributing factors. They can then use that knowledge to predict why, when, and how those things might happen in the future. Change, control. Psychology aims to change, influence, or control behavior to make positive, constructive, meaningful, and lasting changes in people's lives, and to influence their behavior for the better. This is the final and most important goal of psychology. How can you use the 4 goals in your life? If you're trying to change something in your life or develop a healthier habit, consider using the 4 goals. To start, visualize your goal. What is that you want? Once you have that goal in mind, start with describing by writing down your thoughts, feelings, emotions, and what is going on in your life. This will help break down and clarify your thoughts if they are chaotic or jumbled. You can also make a list, create a mind map, or choose other ways of recording your thoughts. Try to be as detailed as possible. Explaining is the process of trying to figure out what is going on, and this can be done by reflecting on a personal experience that might hold some type of explanation for your habit or behavior. Asking yourself why questions can be helpful in reaching the goal of explaining. Taking notes from describing and explaining might help you to be able to predict future thoughts and behaviors. For example, maybe you have described feeling anxiety when faced with a social event. Through the process of asking yourself why you feel anxious, you might come to the conclusion that you feel anxious because you're scared that people might not like you. From this, you can predict the next time you attend an event, you will probably feel anxious again. With this prediction, you can then work on acting or reacting in certain ways to help you control or curb the anxiety, which leads us to the goal of change control branches of psychology. There are different types of psychology that serve different purposes. There is no fixed way of classifying them, but here are some common types. 1. Abnormal psychology. Abnormal psychology dedicated to patients who display abnormal behavior or thinking. Abnormal behavior is considered conduct that doesn't comply with societal norms, which can include mental illnesses such as bulimia or schizophrenia.